He's a co-founder of the Southern rockers Jackyl, has his own record label and management company, owns his own liquor brand, and is the producer and co-star of the long-running reality series Full Throttle Saloon. Our guest today is James Dupree on the VVN Music Podcast. Hi, and welcome to episode 20 of the VVN Music Podcast. I'm Roger Wink, and before we get started, I just wanted to remind you that this program can now be heard via the iHeartRadio app and on the YouTube platform, along with our long-running affiliations with Apple Podcast, Stitcher, Libsyn, and of course, VVNmusic.com. You can always get the latest news on the veteran artists of pop, rock, soul, country, folk, and blues, along with upcoming release lists, charts, music television schedules, reviews, and many more features at VVN Music. James Dupree got started in music as a teen and in 1991 formed the group Jackyl, which has to date released 8 studio albums, including their latest, ROWYCO. Jackyl is a band that tours its heavy and southern metal relentlessly, holding 2 listings in the Guinness Book of World Records for the performing of 100 shows in 50 days and an amazing 21 shows in 24 hours. On top of performing, Dupree owns his own record and management company, Mighty Loud Entertainment, along with Jesse James Spirits with a line of Kentucky bourbon. Then there's his partnership with the owners of the Full Throttle Saloon in Sturgis, South Dakota, and is co-starring in 6 seasons of the reality show that was shown on True TV and the Reels channel. Jackyl's latest album is actually the initials ROWYCO, which stands for a sentence that will get us an explicit rating on iTunes. So for now, we'll just call it by Jesse's preferred pronunciation, ROWYCO. James Dupree talked to us from his home in Kennesaw, Georgia. Well, congratulations on the new album. I know it's been out almost 2 months now, right?
Yeah, came out 1st of August, and thank you very much. It's a big slice of rock, and we're definitely proud of it.
Now, how would you like me to refer to it? I mean, I know what ROWYCO is, but do you call it by the initials, or do you call it ROWYCO? Or
yeah, I call it ROWYCO. I get a little southern twist on it, called ROWYCO, yeah.
Got it. You wrote most of the songs on the album. What do you do as far as your writing process? Do you do most of it in the studio or beforehand?
I think my best, the stuff that I'm the most proud of, I actually, formulate a lot of that stuff on my motorcycle when I'm making rides from one place to another. It's kind of the best place that the phone can't ring, or I can get in a zone. I just kind of hear the music in my head. Sometimes I even write music on the bike in my head, and I'll get to where I'm going and grab a guitar and figure out what the hell was I thinking, But as far as, this album, more than any other album, there's several songs that I pulled from some personal stuff that I've been dealing with over the last year, and I've never really opened up like that because, we don't fancy Jackyl to, we're a celebration of the fundamentals of rock and roll. I'll leave it up to Bono and U2 and Bruce Springsteen to write the songs that'll actually directly cure cancer. At least they seem to think that they can. But we're a celebration of the fundamentals of rock and roll, and we make no bones about it.
Well, you have said at some time in the past that you thought this album was a little bit more mature than what you have done in the past. Is that mainly because you went a little bit deeper with your writing?
I don't know if I ever used the word mature. I think, because we definitely, again, we celebrate those fundamentals of rock and roll, trying to stay back to the basics of it when things were, not so self-righteously, critically approved, conscious, mature, if you will. But as far as I do think it's a thicker sounding record is what I said. It's the thickest sounding record production-wise we've ever done, and again, it's just a simple statement that I say that we, that I delved into some personal experiences going through, in some of the lyrics, but then again, even they are very self-explanatory if you listen to the lyrics. So.
You know, I was listening to the album, and the song that really struck me right off the top was Rally, which is just, it's one of those, well, for lack of a better word, it's one of those songs you can rally around. It's just such a great rock song.
Thank you. And, I mean, it's just it kind of pulls back from the 70s soul songs, on the rally, ooga chugga, ooga chugga, just, and at the same time, it's just got, it's got that theme, what was the, anthemic kind of kind of got that anthem vibe to it. And it's a great live song for damn sure.
Yeah, I kind of figured that it would probably work its way into being regular part of your sets.
Yeah, most of all of our stuff is definitely geared for the live show. I mean, it's most bands do an album and they go tour to promote the album. We actually more so make records, so we'll have an excuse to tour.
When I was listening to the album, all of a sudden this guitar part came on, and I'm sitting there going, "This sounds like Hot Chocolate."
Yeah.
How did you come about to record a cover of Everyone's a Winner?
Well, on the last couple of albums, there's songs like Screwdriver and All Night Rodeo and Encore, and they're just certain songs that on the last couple of albums that Roman especially has been able to stretch out and recreate some really cool grooving bass lines and stuff, and the rhythm section. And when we were laying the stuff down, we would go and listen to some of that 70s stuff that had that kind of a groove, and we always kept going back to that Hot Chocolate song, and because it just got such a cool groove to it, and so whenever we got into recording the record, we were feeding off of it again. We said, why don't we just cut this damn song? And so we did, Hammer
to the Head is about as close as you get to one of those big rock ballads on the album. Where did that one come from?
Well, I don't know if it's a ballad. It kind of pulls from, I don't know, it's kind of a Black Sabbath meets, I don't know what, I mean, it meets the South, it's because it's got that early Black Sabbath kind of a, death groove, and it just sounds so medieval in the music. But literally the song, the title, Hammer to the Head, that was one of those, the lyric kind of wrote itself, coming out of what the music just sounded, this music has got such a heavy sound. It's like a hammer to the head.
Right.
And it kind of, the song grew out of that. But I like that song because it's one of, definitely as far as Jackyl goes, it's one of the more in-depth songs. I mean, if you listen to that song from beginning to end, you take a little bit of a journey as far as, it's crunchy and pumping and powerful. And then all of a sudden it gets really kind of almost spacey and cool in that, midsection, and then it rips back in. I think it's a cool journey. I like that song because it goes into the unexpected for us,
Right. And no, it's not a ballad, but as far as your particular sound, it's almost the slowest, almost ballad on the album.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of When Will It Rain Part 2.
Any other favorites on the album that you can see being long-term songs that make it into your live sets for the future years?
Well, I mean, as far as favorites, I love, tracks 1 through 10. And, they definitely. But, as far as the live show, Rally's a great one. Blast Off is an opener. We open up with Blast Off. And then the country song, just because I'm drunk don't mean you're right. That people have that's probably, matter of fact, right now, I think that's the number one selling single off the album on the digital places like iTunes and Amazon. It's really taken off.
I have to ask you, where did you find the cover of the album?
It was just public domain. The way I found Johnny Dare, who's the number one disc jockey in Kansas City in the Midwest. He blankets the Midwest with his audience, and he's probably one of the best morning shows going. And he is a buddy of mine, and he had actually posted that picture on his Facebook page, saying, "Hey, I found a picture of Jesse Dupree's youth," and we all thought that was funny, and And then there's about a year later when we were looking for an album cover, and we came up with the ROWYCO, rock out with your, and what that stands for. And then he goes, well, then you can use that picture. And he pulled it back and resent it,
Yeah, you mentioned your youth. How did you actually get started in music? Were you into it at a young age, or?
Well, my parents can't play any instruments. My dad barely got a 10th grade education. He was a machinist at Lockheed Aircraft, manual labor his whole life. And my mom was she was a, typical middle class mom, had supper on the table every day at, 5 o'clock and, homework and Sunday school on Sunday mornings, that kind of thing,
One of those things we don't see much anymore.
Yeah, that's what's wrong with America now, is the breakdown in the American family, but that's politics, so we'll stay away from it. But because you get me started on that, and you're in trouble. But but the one thing they did is, they'd wake me up in the middle of the night, and they would, even when I was wearing pajamas with the feet in the bottom of them, they'd wake me up to come stand in front of the big old TV set, and watch Little Richard on Johnny Carson, or it could even be Frank Sinatra and Don Rickles, with Don Rickles pouring a glass of water down Frank's pants or something, or just funny stuff, and they just always dialed me into that. And I liked doing the talent shows at school. And so I had a knack for it, and I started playing guitar about 15. And I remember when I was 13, I was getting into doing impersonations and stuff. And my dad woke me up in the middle of the night and carried me down to a little honky-tonk bar in Ackworth, Georgia. And there was a band playing called Luke Curl and the Southern Light. And my dad put me up on stage in front of a bunch of drunks in this beer joint to sing an Elvis song. And, and then I went back home, went to bed, and went to school the next day, and I didn't think nothing about it. My dad would just do stuff like that. But so that's kind of how I got into it. And then we got laid off from Lockheed. We moved to an armpit of Gadsden, Alabama, and we moved over by the steel plant. So that was in an armpit, the armpit part of Gadsden, and we lived in a trailer on the backside of a cafe, and we had a jukebox in that cafe. And I'd lost all my friends the more we'd moved from and stuff. So I really threw myself into music at that point. The guy that would change the 45s out on the jukebox would give me the 45s when he would take them off, and I would go wash a 5-gallon pickle barrel out, and I kept my 45 records in those 5-gallon pickle barrels. And I'd go to my room in that trailer and play air guitar on a beat-up tennis racket and sing. That's where I learned how to scream and stuff, because I was listening to stuff like Joe Tex and Wilson Pickett, and Joe Tex said that song, I got you, oh, you got away, so that's where I kind of honed the gravelly voice.
So you were mainly influenced, and of course, being from the South, I could see this, but you were mainly influenced by a lot of the rhythm and blues of the 60s and early 70s.
All those great black singers, man, like Wilson Pickett, Otis Redding, James Brown, Joe Tex, Steve Marriott, who was not an older black guy, but he sounded like it. He sounded like a white male Tina Turner, and but from Humble Pie, with songs like Black Coffee and and 30 Days in the Hole and all that stuff. So I just loved those, that soul in those singers and just the power that came out, and I've been very blessed with barbed wire vocal cords myself. So, and the more I use it, the more stronger it gets. So.
Where did you form your first band?
That was in junior high school. I guess it was, or right at the beginning of high school, right in that time frame. And right at the freshman year of high school. We played at one of the assemblies one time, and but by the time I got up, the drinking age was 18 back then, and when I was 16 going on 17, I had the band that I had that I was playing with. They were all older guys, and so I was the only one that was underage. So when we would play bars, I could get up and play, but then I'd have to go sit back in the kitchen during the breaks. And my friends from school used to come stand outside the bars and look through the windows and the doors to watch me play.
How long has the current lineup of Jackyl been together? I know you've had a little bit of turnover, but nothing like a lot of bands that have been around for 25 years.
Well, Roman's been with us for 17 years, and we're celebrating 25 years of Jackyl this year, 2017. And so, 17 years ago was when Roman came in, and but he was kind of a member of the band anyway, because Brother Kane, he was in Brother Kane before that, and they used to be on the road with us. They used to open up for us all the time, so it was just a natural thing for Roman to fit right in.
You've had, obviously, a number of big albums over the years, but the music industry is so really strange right now. How hard is it, are you finding it, to get your music out there now?
Well, it's easy for me because I have my own imprint through the Universal Inquiry system. So, all of our content's through either Universal or Universal, the Ingrooves portal. And so, I can just input albums when I get ready. But, and I've also put out records like Power Man 5000 and Eve to Adam. And I put out Tanya Tucker's Last Christmas release. just different stuff like that. But I don't actively sign a lot of artists, or, I just have it there in case there's something that comes across organically that I want to do, But I do get what you're saying. It's relationship. We got great relationships with, Mark Hudson and, everybody, like the guys at FYE, the guys at Trans World, Best Buy, Walmart. I mean, they're all still super supportive, and this new album, I mean, it's consistently pops every week. I've been blown away with the consistent movement of it, and the fact that people have been able to go out to those stores and find us. So it's for us, but it is tougher these days, to your point, to reach the masses. It's tougher to reach the masses because the audiences are spread out over so many different mediums. And the one thing that we've been able to accomplish is we've been very concise and specific about who we are, and we surround ourselves with dates and events that tap into that same like-minded, rock and roller. So, we play Sturgis every year, as with the Full Throttle Saloon, and, I've got equity and all that. And then there's, we'll play Roll on the Shore in Erie, Pennsylvania. It's a huge charity, motorcycle ride that day, and we have a concert that night. It's an annual thing we do, every year to kick that Roll on the Shore event off up in Erie. We'll do Mountain Fest in West Virginia every year in Morgantown. We do Ocean City, Maryland for Bike Week up there every year. We do a lot of annual Ohio Bike Week, Sandusky, Ohio every year. And I lead a charity motorcycle ride to benefit pancreatic cancer there. And we there's not a more charitable bunch of good-hearted people, and what's left of real America really is than the people that ride those motorcycles. And so it's a lifestyle that fits in with our music, working class America, people that bust their knuckles 40, 50 hours a week or more. And that's really helped, to create synergy and sustain. And now I've got the Jesse James bourbon and the Full Throttle Saloon moonshine. And it's just all synergetic. I mean, the whiskey lovers come out, rock and rollers come out, motorcycle enthusiasts come out. It's just a gathering. It's a family reunion.
Well, that's one thing that I was going to ask you about, is that you have so many other different enterprises. I mean, I know that you have your own record label and management company, and I assume that you went that way just so you had more control over everything after having worked with major labels.
I've never not been in control of everything. I mean, I've managed the band since day one, and people told me that it was going to be a failure because of it. But I think it's the only reason why, Lucius, because nobody would have ever stood by us in some of the tough times. And I've been very blessed to have incredible, legendary people in my corner and educate me, from attorneys to the executives at Geffen Records, Warren Christensen, John Colodny, those guys, radio friends at program directors and operations managers at radio stations across. I mean, I just spoke last week. I was a guest speaker at the National Association of Broadcasters, where all the owners and general managers and operations managers have a formal, convention in Nashville. And I was a guest speaker discussing creating synergy between brands and all that stuff,
Now, how did you get into I guess I'll say liquor or spirits business? I mean, I know it was to create, and there was synergy with that and other things, but how did you actually take that final step to get into it?
Well, I was contacted several years ago by the Sidney Franks company. Sidney Franks invented like Grey Goose Vodka and a bunch of other big brands like that. I think he was responsible for bringing Jägermeister into America, and just a legendary guy in the spirits world. And his company reached out and hired me to consult them because they were hitting a dead end with Little John. They were only able to go so far in their partnership with him, and he was more just doing it from the celebrity side. But they brought me in to consult them on both the entertainer side and the distribution model side. So I came in to that equation and started expanding that brand, and I worked with them for about 3 years, and Sidney Franks passed away, and the family ended up divesting the company. But in the process of that, I learned just how similar the liquor distribution and energy drink distribution is to the music business. It was very familiar to me. And so then Michael Ballard and I thought, well, hey, let's put out the Jesse James beer. So we started doing Jesse James beer, but we weren't ramped up for it like we should have been. It started taking off, but the place that we were brewing the beer in could only do about 600 cases at a pop. So our hands were tied, and we started realizing that the craft beer explosion had already happened, and we were coming in on the tail end of it. So that led me to look for the liquor side of things, and I expanded into the liquor world, and it ended up being really advantageous because, the Jesse James bourbon fills a void. Jack Daniels used to be the working man's bourbon, but, it belongs to everybody now. It's a white tablecloth drink. It's a urban drink. It's everything. So, and you have to take a second mortgage out to buy a bottle of it. So I put out a great, Kentucky bourbon that is affordable, and it's really great. And we just did 100,000 cases in a little over 3 years.
Wow.
So that's a major accomplishment to do in the liquor business. Normally it takes about 5 or so for a startup company. So it's really, met with been a great response. And the Full Throttle Saloon Moonshine's great too.
Yeah, that's amazing. I didn't realize until just recently that you started getting into television production with, I believe it was MTV's show, 2 a Day. How did you kind of take that path? Well,
first of all, I went and produced a pay-per-view out of in Sturgis at the Full Throttle Saloon, and I did a pay-per-view there. I actually did 2 pay-per-views from there, and then one from Mardi Gras, and those went really good. And I partnered up with some guys that had done pay-per-views and such, so that was just a little bit of a learning curve in getting in, and I was able to be proactive with the production of it. But I wasn't seriously looking to go into the executive producer world. But one of the guys that I was working with, one of my partners, said, man, you got a really good knack for this, and this, producing as executive producers and stuff. And he said, I'd like for us to be partners. And I said, well, I've got a full plate, but if I can help you, I will. And he said, well, I got an idea. So we sit down, and it was his idea to want to, go and document, the pressures that these young high school athletes are under, to get scholarships and such. And the parents will move their kids across the country to go to a specific high school that has a good record of winning and getting college scouts out to see them. So, so I got caught up in that because I grew up playing, the Little League football, the weight division football, but I never was big enough to, once that went away and I got into high school, I was just too small to compete with some of those guys that weighed 250, and because I'm not a very fast guy, so I was always in the weight division. I was always on the line or playing linebacker, and that worked until, like I say, the weight limits came off, and then I was overweight. But anyway, but I still had a passion for football, and I got caught up in it, and we produced the show, and MTV picked it up, and it was a big hit, and we did a couple of seasons with them, and it was really a great, but I produced that from soup to nut, and I really learned, exactly, what it took and my strengths in that area. And then it was kind of a natural to put the Full Throttle Saloon TV show on right behind it. and I'm working on a new show right now. I don't do it, you know, my main business is not executive producing TV shows, but I'm getting away with it. So whenever I get an idea or something, I do it. You know, everything I do, I'm kind of, you know, surprised that I'm able to get away with doing it. But I've got great people around me, and you know, I wake up every day. I'll tell you the truth. I wake up every single day in a panic. Okay. I mean, seriously, the first couple of minutes that I'm awake, I'm in a panic because I fear that I have dreamed all of this and that I've actually got to get up and go pour concrete for a living. and every day I have that panic attack. And then I realize that it hadn't been a dream and that I've been very blessed. And so I wake up and I take as big a bite out of life fast as I possibly can. And I may not be the smartest tool in the shed, but I will outwork any son of a bitch you know. And that's how I get away with it.
And that's a huge key to it, is being willing to go out and actually put the work in.
You know, people ask me, what does it take to have your own record label? What does it take to manage a band? What does it take to executive produce a TV show? What does it take to manufacture a whiskey? What does it take to distribute a whiskey? What does it take to, you know, to produce, you know, 4-day festivals? What does it take to, you know, and there's a common answer with every single one of them. You just have to be able to manage expectations. So, you know, if you ask me what's my title, I'm a manager of expectations.
How long were you actually involved with the saloon until you actually had the idea to take it off into a show?
Well, the first thing was, you know, the first idea that popped, like the very first day I walked onto the property, was, wow, I've got an opportunity to exercise this new word branding that I was adopting, you know, and I thought I can really create a branding opportunity with bringing my radio station relationships up to, you know, up there to broadcast. And so I created a national broadcast where I have stations from all over the country: KQRC, Kansas City, 96 Rock, Cincinnati, Ohio, WJJO, Madison, Wisconsin, XRX, Rockford, Illinois, you know, the Will Rock in Kenosha, you know, Lubbock, Texas, Dallas, Texas, K-Bear, Salt Lake City. I mean, I have stations from all over the country that come up and broadcast every year from there. And for 6 to 8 weeks prior to that, you know, they create an event locally in their markets branded as a Full Throttle event. And so that was the first thing I did. And then I saw the success of that because I realized for every one person that gets to go 1,700 miles from me, seems like wherever you are, the Sturgis is 1,700 miles from there, you know, just as a broad swipe. But, you know, I started realizing for every one person that makes the trip to Sturgis, there's 1,000 people back at home that go vicariously through the radio shows. And so then I thought, well, then the next step is to take it onto the television, you know, and put it on the big screen. And it happened, you know. Any
chance of a 7th season, or is that pretty much done for now?
Well, the bar burnt down in September of last
right,
year.
I knew that.
And
right.
So we weren't able to obligate to a 7th season, but 6 years of a reality show, that's a long time.
Oh, and, it is.
Yeah, and you can actually catch last season. We put last season, because of the fire and all the footage we have of the fire and stuff, you can go on Full Throttle TV on YouTube. Go to Full Throttle TV. Go find the Full Throttle TV channel on YouTube, and you can see the episodes from last year, and but including some incredible fire footage. And but anyway, yeah, we had a great run, but we're working now to create a new show that'll be a little bit different that Mike and I will be doing, and I'm hoping something good is going to happen with that for 2017.
You have rebuilt though there, right?
Yeah, we were open this year. We moved down the road, and we have 600 acres now, where we were, you know, stuck with 30 acres. And now we've got 600 acres, so we've got so much room to grow and do whatever we want to do. But the Full Throttle sits on 50 acres of the 600, and the rest of it is we have a huge campground. We have RV sites, we have cabins, we have tent camping, we have a grocery store, we have an Olympic-sized swimming pool with bars all around it. I mean, we've got some really amazing, features at the campground, and it's called the Pappy Hoyle Campground. We named it after the original guy that created the Sturgis Rally. You can go to pappyhoyle.com, PAPPYHOEL campground.com, and check out the facilities and make your reservations. And a lot of people are just now figuring out that you don't even have to ride a motorcycle to come up there. I mean, you can come and stay on the Full Throttle property. We got concerts every night. Last year we had Zach Wild, we had Seven Dust, we had Ted Nugent, we've had, Travis Tritt. We've had, so many different bands, of course, Jackyl. And, so you can get there in between the swimming pool, the grocery stores, the bars, the zip lines, everything that's on the property. You don't even have to go anywhere. I mean, you can stay there the whole week and have a blast. And so everybody should go check out PappyHoyleCampground.com and make your plans to be in Sturgis the first week of August every year.
We're running a little bit long here, and I want to let you go, but I do have to ask you one thing, which I'm not sure has a lot to do with branding, but it sure has to do with energy, and that's how you came up with the idea of not only doing the 100 shows in 50 days, but especially the 21 shows in 24 hours.
Well, it was, our agent used to, couldn't believe how much we stayed on the road, and they booked us just nonstop. And they used to say, "Don't you want a day off to rest your voice?" You'll not have book us, because like I say, I'm kind of have perpetual vocal cords, it seems like. And where they, I'm fortunate to have them I gain momentum. But, I kept telling them, well, we could do 352 shows a year. We, book us, let's set a world record and play the most shows in a year. And they said, well, that takes too long to get people's attention with it. And, and they didn't really want to get into it. And so, I said, well, then we'll do 100 shows in 50 days. How about that? And they were like, whoa. And so we put it together and went out and knocked it out. And again, this book, people set the parameters, and then we did it all. It was all full plugged in, and then we knocked it out. But the 24 shows, the 21 shows in a 24-hour period, we did that in one location down in Texas, and Abilene, Texas, I think it was. And we set up in a room in a radio station in a conference room, and they would bring an audience in, and we'd play a 30-minute show for them, and then we'd do a meet and greet with those people, and they'd leave, and then they'd bring another audience in, and we'd do another. So, we did a whole series of shows that were 30 to 40 minutes long a piece, and minimum of 30, and we did that for, 21 shows. I sang my ass off for the first 17. then I got tired.
When you were doing the 50 and 25 days, did you have like two setups and you kept leapfrogging with them as far as
we had everything strapped down to a tractor trailer rig. Everything was eye-bolted down to a tractor trailer with a PA system and such. And so we had another truck that pulled a generator. So we'd open it up with we'd tie in with a morning show and radio station, and they'd put us somewhere that morning and tell the people to come out, and we'd have our concert, and then we'd pack it up and we'd go to the next town and play that evening, and then the next morning we'd do another show. And it was I don't ever want to do it again, I can tell you that.
I don't think that there can actually be a answer to this question, because it doesn't sound like you have any more minutes in your day, but is there anything else coming up for you?
Well, I've developed a proprietary back-end research platform that plugs into radio and television, and I've been running beta tests for that for the last couple of years, and I just, after almost 8 years, got my first patents approved for it. So in early 2017, I'm going to be unleashing that on terrestrial radio to try to bring terrestrial radio back to life. And I'm excited about that. And then I'm got a couple more SKUs of whiskey that I'm going to be putting out in 2017. Jackyl's going to be celebrating its 25th anniversary, which is a really, really big deal. People ask me all the time, do you ever think about retiring, stopping playing and just focus on the other stuff? And I say, do you ever look down and think that you've used your penis enough and you're just going to go ahead and have it removed? But, I know I haven't. I look down and think, dang, I still am enjoying it quite a bit. So I'm going to keep my penis, and I'm going to keep playing.
Well, congratulations on everything, and all of your different enterprises. And
thank you so much. And try to make it out to a Jackyl show. Check out Jackyl.com, and also I've been trying to do a better job of putting stuff up on James Dupree's Instagram, so you can kind of follow through, different things that we got going on, and just trying to get keep this new social media thing going.
Yep, just one more thing you got to worry about, right?
Yeah, but I'm enjoying it also. It's good.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for talking with us, and good luck with it all, and have a great day.
Have a great day, and thank you for your time. Thanks.
Our thanks to James Dupree for talking with us. Jackyl's new album, ROWYCO, is available now. We'll be back soon with more editions of the VVN Music Podcast. Remember that you can hear the VVN Music Podcast via iHeartRadio, YouTube, iTunes, Stitcher, Libsyn, and the VVN Music website. For the latest news on the veteran artists of rock, pop, soul, country, folk, and blues, go to vvnmusic.com. If you have any comments or questions about the website or this podcast, please send them to vvnnetwork@gmail.com. Our theme music is performed by Yahar. This program was recorded on October 10th, 2016, and is a production of the VVN Network, copyright 2016.